Good day, folks. DJI just released their new action camera called the Osmo Action, and spoiler alert, it is incredible. Let's just jump right in and take a closer look. So today we're going to take a look at the brand new Osmo Action that DJI just announced this morning. Now I just want to state that I'm not a fanboy of any one company or brand. I just like products that work well, are easy to use, and are affordably priced. Now in this review you're not going to hear terms like GoPro killer or game changer, because personally I find that a little bit dramatic and a little bit cheesy. But really at the end of the day, I'm glad that GoPro finally has some real competition. When there's good healthy competition in the marketplace, the consumer wins. Competition helps keep the prices down, it fuels innovation, as both companies compete to get technology to the market first. And in this case, I do think GoPro does have a really good contender here. Now, when you get down to the raw specs of the Osmo Action, it's pretty well pound for pound, pretty equal to the GoPro. Now, with that said, the Osmo Action brings a ton of new features and capabilities that just are not available on the GoPro. And with all these new features and capabilities, not to mention its competitive price point, the Osmo Action is probably your better buy at this point in time. So let's just jump right in. We'll take a look at some of its characteristics, its features, and see how it performs. Now, a few basic specs here before we get into things. First off, it's capable of 4K at 60 frames per second. It can do 1080 at 240 frames per second. It is waterproof up to 11 meters without any additional housing. And of course, it has all your familiar shooting modes such as video, photo, time-lapse, hyperlapse. It even allows you to take proper bracketed HDR photos if that's something you're into. Now, we're going to talk about more of its features and specs as we go along. Now, DJI is not new to handheld cameras by any means. A few years ago, they released their Osmo series. Then, of course, last Christmas, we got the Osmo Pocket. And now we have a nice little action camera. So let's take a closer look at the camera here, and then I'm going to go over some of my new favorite features. Now, one of the main things you're going to notice when looking at it is it has a front LCD screen. It's the first action camera to feature a screen on the front. It's a small screen, but it's just enough to let you see what you're filming. If you're a vlogger, you can now film yourself easily. You can see what you're filming. If you're doing selfies, you can line up and compose your shot. Not only that, if you're a motovlogger or a mountain biker, you can easily mount this on your handlebars and line up your shot and make sure you're getting the angle that you want. We'll take a closer look at the front screen here in a minute. If we go to the top of the camera, you'll notice we have a display and a power button on the left-hand side. We have a record or capture button on the right-hand side. We have a LED light and a microphone off to the side there. We have a compartment on the side here, and if you open that up, that's where our USB-C port is for charging the camera or connecting it to a computer. And we also have our memory card in that same slot. On the back here, of course, we have the full screen display. Now at the bottom here, you can see this is our battery compartment. And things are a little bit different here. You'll notice that we have two buttons on either side of it. To release the battery, we need to press in both little switches there. And you can see the battery pops right out. And as I go to press the battery back in, and you can see there that you know that the battery's not clicked in all the way when it has that kind of orange marking. As I press it in, it disappears. So that's a nice little feature they've added, so you always know that you have a nice watertight seal. But let's take a closer look at the battery, because they've kind of done something different here. You can see when you look at the batteries that they actually have the outer shell of the camera built right onto it. And to me, that's actually a really good thing, because every time you buy a new battery, you're getting a brand new seal. These seals kind of break down over time. With the door that covers the USB-C port, this door can be replaced and purchased online. And now you can actually replace the seal every time you buy a new battery. So to me, that's a really nice setup there, and it could lead to some extra longevity of your camera. Now, the next thing here is the lens, and actually this is something that I really like. I'm kind of glad that they've taken this approach to it. And, you know, when you're trying to remove the lens from the competition, you know what a struggle that is. With the DJI Osmo Action, it just screws off very easily. That way, if you need to replace it because it's damaged, you can do so easily, but it also makes adding things like ND filters super easy. DJI has already developed a set of ND filters for the Osmo Action. I don't know if they're going to be available on launch day. I think they will be. And, you know, they seem to be a good quality. I've done some testing with them, and they do work very well. So basically, they'll be coming in at an ND4, ND8, ND16, and ND32. So when it comes to charging the Osmo Action, you just charge it up with the provided USB-C cable via the USB-C port there. However, just like a GoPro, you can charge it via power bank, and that can come in handy sometimes. The door of the Osmo Action is removable, just like a GoPro. That allows you to mount it into the frame and still charge it up while you're using it. This is the frame that comes with the Osmo Action. As you can see, with the door removed, we have full access to the charging port. That allows us to take our USB-C cable, plug it into the Osmo Action, and it will start charging. Of course, we can power it on. You can see there that it is charging. We can record, and we can still continue to use it. Now, being able to charge the Osmo Action while connected to a power bank is very important. That allows people who like to create time lapses or are doing motovlogging and they're going to be doing a lot of recording. You can have this plugged in directly to a power bank and get those long extended shots that you want. When you're done, the USB door just simply pops back in. You just have to make sure that flap there is all the way out. It slides back and forth. Make sure it's all the way out. Then it'll just clip in like that. DJI has done a good job with the interface. It's very simple, but yet still intuitive, easy to figure out. A swipe down from the top gives us some basic functions, stuff that we always want handy at our fingertips. Of course, we can go deeper into the settings by pressing that button, and there's all kinds of different things we can do and change. A swipe up from the bottom in video mode allows us to change our resolution and our frames per second. We can also turn on and disable rock steady from this menu. A swipe from the right hand side brings up all our media. A swipe from the left-hand side brings up all our camera settings, and from here we can leave things in auto. We can also switch over to manual if we so wish. Clicking the camera button brings up some more menu options. From here we can set our white balance. We can set our color profile. If you want to shoot in a flat color profile like desyn-like, we can toggle that on and off there. This is also where we set Dwarp, and I'm going to get into that here in a minute. And we can change our format from MP4 to move depending on what kind of computer you're going to be using and editing on. So a very simple interface, which is very important when you're out in the field. You just want to be able to get in, change your setting if you need to, and not have to mess around too much with it. Changing modes, we just click on the camera icon down in the left-hand side, and from here we can choose video, photo, or custom. Custom mode basically allows you to set certain parameters. If you like to shoot in certain styles, certain ways, you instead of having to go through all the different menus to set things up the way you like, you can make kind of a custom profile. And when you want to shoot and change things quickly, you can do so via the custom profile. In video mode, we have slow motion, we have HDR, we have regular video mode, time lapse, and hyperlapse. HDR is a fairly new thing for action cameras, and that allows you to get better detail when the lighting conditions are quite drastic. You might have some low light areas, some highlight areas, a bright sky, a tree line that's dark. This allows you to capture more detail. Just keep in mind though, when filming in HDR, the built-in camera stabilization is not available. You can also use the quick select button at the side to quickly cycle through all the different modes. So when it comes time that we want to use the front LCD screen, there's two ways we can access it. First off is a double tap on the back screen with 2 fingers. You can see there, you hear that sound, and it's now switched. And as you can see here, it's now showing on the front screen. The other way to switch is a long press on the quick select. You can see there, it will switch back and forth as well. Now, when it comes to audio on the Osmo Action, it's quite good. If you recall back when I reviewed the Osmo Pocket, I thought it did a really good job as well. And the Osmo Action is no different. Now, some people are very critical when it comes to audio on these small handheld devices. The thing you got to remember is that you're never going to get studio quality audio from a small device like this. A good studio microphone is 3 times this size alone, so of course you're always going to get better audio with an external microphone. Let's take a quick look at an audio sample here. Okay, here's an audio test of the new DJI Osmo Action. I don't really know what it sounds like yet, as this is my first time testing the audio, so I'll just do a little bit of talking and then I'll go home and listen to it and kind of analyze it a bit and see what I think. Again, this is the DJI Osmo Action, recording the audio straight off the camera, no external microphones attached. Now, another question I know I'll be asked is if this is capable of using an external microphone, and I really don't know the answer to that yet. DJI hasn't really made any statements about that before launch. I have tested it with a couple different microphone adapters, including the one for the Osmo Pocket, and that didn't work. Now, that may change with a firmware update down the road. I'm not 100% sure. I'm assuming at some point DJI will be selling a microphone adapter for the Osmo Action, but definitely as that becomes available, I will be making updated videos on those aspects. Now, DJI is calling its built-in electronic image stabilization rock steady. Let's take a quick look at it now. You can see in this clip here it does a really good job. Without good built-in image stabilization, it's just not going to impress people. People come to expect that now in small cameras like this. Now, of course, built-in image stabilization is not 100% perfect, but it does eliminate the need for a gimbal in most situations. Ideally, if you do want the smoothest shot possible, you're best to use this with a gimbal. And yes, the Osmo Action is compatible with the Phaotech G6 if anybody is interested in that. Now, of course, the big question is, what's the video and photo quality like? So let's just run some clips here and we'll take a look. Now, all that video was just shot in auto. Of course, you can go in and color grade yourself. You can shoot in a flat color profile, so you can do your own grading in post. You can shoot with ND filters. It's nice and crisp. It's not too oversaturated, and that's perfect for those who just want to grab some quick shots without messing around too much with the settings. Now, I want to kind of go over what is personally my favorite feature of the Osmo Action, and that is the ability to take proper bracketed HDR photos. Now, if you're already an HDR photographer, you already know what bracketed photos are. If you're not, I'll kind of give you a brief explanation here. In simple terms, it's basically when you take 3 or more photos at different exposures. For example, in a simple 3 bracketed photo set, you're going to take one at a normal exposure, you're going to take one that's overexposed, and you're going to take one that's underexposed. You then merge them all together into one photograph. So let me just show you a quick example here of an HDR photo. So to take our bracketed photo, we're going to go to our photo menu and we're going to click that icon where it says AEB. When we swipe up from the bottom, we can kind of set some parameters for when we want to take our bracketed photos. We can set the aspect ratio of 16:9 or 4:3. But we can also choose at how many photos it's going to take. So what I usually choose is the 1 EV, that's 1 step up and 1 step back from normal exposure. So you can either do it at a 3 photo set, or you can also do 1 EV step 5 photos. If you take 5 photos, it's just going to give your HDR software more to work with. But for this little example, I did a 3 photo bracketed set. So once we've taken the bracketed set, we have 3 photos to work with. This first photo here is the normally exposed photo. And you can see it's kind of a gloomy day out. There's not a lot of detail in the sky, it's not too bright, but the photo looks decent. So here's the underexposed photo. As you can see, there's a lot of detail in the clouds now. You can see more texture. The sky looks a lot nicer in this underexposed photo. However, when you look at the water or the shoreline, they're really dark, there's no detail, and really it just doesn't look that good. Now if we go to the overexposed photo, you can see the sky is blown way out. It's pure white. You can't see a lot of texture in it, but you see a lot more detail along the riverbank and in the water. So now at this point, what we're going to do is merge our 3 photos together into one photo. We use HDR editing software. Myself, I use Photomatics by HDR Soft. Once we've processed the photo in our HDR software, we end up with a photo like this. You can see in this photo there's a lot of detail. You can see a lot of detail in the sky, a lot more than what you could see with the under or overexposed version. What it does, it takes everything, puts it all together, and you kind of get the best of both worlds. So that is an amazing feature for me because I love taking HDR photos. You can do that on a GoPro, but it's definitely not as easy and it's very time consuming. Now, one nice feature of the Osmo Action that many people are going to be super happy about is the removal of the fisheye look. The Osmo Action has a feature called Dwarp, and I've got it disabled right now so I can show you the before and after and how it works. So right now, because it has such a wide field of view, and that's like GoPros and other action cameras, when you start to move the camera, you can see at the back of my desk there, see how it starts to curve. So you get a lot of distortion. Now, some people do like that look, so that's kind of nice that DJI left it in there that you can toggle that on and off. And to access that, we're going to swipe from the side. We're going to click the little camera icon, and we're going to go to Dwarp, and we're going to turn it on. Now, let's get out of there. Now, as you see, if you look at the top of my desk, there is no curve to that at all. Now you do lose a little bit of field of view, but not by much. As I turn it on and off, you can see, look at that plant in the corner. You can see with it off, you can see a little bit more of it. When I turn it on, it does crop in a little bit. But it's very minimal and definitely a welcome addition for many. Now, Dwarp is available when shooting both videos and photos. The Osmo Action also supports voice commands. You can easily toggle voice commands on and off via the swipe down menu from the top. We can turn it on just like that. And you can give it some basic commands like take a photo, start recording, stop recording. And it's also a nice, quick, easy way to switch to your front screen. Screen switch, as you can see there. And you can shut it off. Shut down. Now, an action camera would not be an action camera unless you could shoot slow motion. Now, there's two ways to achieve slow motion on an Osmo Action. The first way is just setting your frames per second. For example, we can go over to 4K 60 frames per second. That allows us, when we're editing, to slow it down by half and still have a good quality video. Of course, if we want it a lot slower, we can set it at 240 frames per second, but then we can only shoot at 1080. That works very well, but if you're a new user to an action camera in slow motion, that can be a little confusing on how to put it into an editor and slow it down. So just like the Osmo Pocket, DJI has put a slow motion mode just under the video tab. When shooting in this mode, the max resolution you can shoot at is 1080p. It's a nice quick way to grab some slow motion shots. The Mimo app is also going to be updated to support connection to the Osmo Action. This will allow you to control your Osmo Action remotely, plus get a nice live preview and change all your settings. It also gives you a nicer way to preview the content stored on your Osmo Action. Connection is very simple. We're just going to power on the Osmo Action. We're going to click this camera button here at the top. It's going to search for the Osmo Action. And there you can see it's found it. So we're going to hit connect. Now this is just a one-time thing you have to do. You have to accept the connection. And you can see there that there's a code. We just hit accept. It's going to ask us to join the Wi-Fi network. And there we go. It's going to launch our feed. Now if you've used the Mimo app with your Osmo Pocket, you pretty well know how to use it because it's very similar. We have some common settings we can change at the side there. And of course we can go into more detailed settings here. We can change our shooting modes. And of course, we can go into our media and play back things that we've recorded. Now, before I go here, I just want to show you a couple of the other accessories that you can expect on launch day. I'm not quite sure what all DJI has up its sleeves, different accessories and that. I'm assuming we're going to see some waterproof housing, different extension poles, handles, who knows. But for right now, I know on launch day, they will be releasing a charging hub. It's like all the other DJI charging hubs. It will only charge one battery at a time, but it does it very quickly. And it allows you just to plug in your batteries and walk away. You don't have to sit and plug each one in every time. We will probably see this on launch day. Whether they'll be in stock or not right away, I'm not sure. I guess we will find out on the 15th. The other thing I'm going to show you here is DJI's mounting system. In the box, when you purchase it, you're going to get two different mounts. You're going to get a flat one and a curved one for helmets and curved surfaces. There's two parts to it. You can see we have the finger mounts on this side and then the part that you stick to different surfaces. And basically you just attach it like that, turn it in, and it locks in. To release it, you just press that button and turn it. So yeah, folks, that is the DJI Osmo Action. What an incredible little camera. They've brought a lot of new features to the table, and I'm pretty excited going forward to see what other features they're going to be adding to this camera over time. I am super happy with this camera, and I can tell you that it has definitely earned a place in my camera bag. Now, if you haven't done so already, I invite you to subscribe to my channel. We're going to dive in deeper to some of the new features. We're going to do a lot of comparisons against the Hero 7 Black in upcoming videos, and you don't want to miss them. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and you found it had value. Give it a thumbs up if you did. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.